Hey guys, and welcome to another weekly draft video here on the Nitsuhon Magic channel. We're doing another Battle for Zendikar draft. This will be the last one I do that's like, more spiky, where I'm really trying to draft the best deck possible. And I think because Oath of the Gatewatch is going to be out it'll be completely spoiled very soon. So I think the next couple weeks I'm going to do more stipulation drafts, which will be a little bit goofier than my usual videos. I'll have some stipulation that I have to follow. Like, for example, I have to take every foil card from packs and try to make a deck work that way. And this is because generally, with my experience doing these videos, once the next set has been fully spoiled, nobody's really interested in a draft video of the other set where it's just Battle for Zendikar times 3. So I think that's what I'll be trying that out this time anyway, see if it's any more popular than doing a more traditional draft video right before a new set comes out. Also, before I get started in the draft, I just want to say that my videos are also posted on paperchampion.net. If you're interested in more Magic the Gathering content, you should check out paperchampion.net. All right, well, I'll be back with you guys when the queue fills up. All right, our draft is beginning. All right, we got March from the Grave, or whatever it's called, March from the Tomb. Not really a card you want to be taking with the first pick. This pack on the whole is pretty underwhelming. I guess Gideon's Reproach is probably the best thing. Mist Intruder is nice to take, but I don't like taking it ultra early. I mean, he is hard to get later sometimes, but he's not good. Unlike Benthic Infiltrator, he's not good unless you end up in a deck that really wants to be ingesting things or has other colorless synergies. Catacomb Sifter is good too, but I don't want to be committing to 2 colors right away, so I think I'll just take the white removal spell here. Turn Against is pretty good, but it's gotten worse as the format has gone on because this is a card you can play around pretty effectively without really affecting your tempo or anything like that. So, yeah, I think it's just Gideon's Reproach. This pack, I mean, I would play Felidar Cub. I like Lifespring Druid, but green has to be pretty open to make it work. But other than that, and the gold cards I mentioned, and the Mist Intruder, most of the cards in this pack are, average at best. So, Brutal Expulsion, huh? Okay, well, there's a Serene Steward, which is a pretty good card. Also a Nettle Drone. And a Sludge Crawler, and a Fortified Rampart. No good removal here really, other than Brutal Expulsion. But if I'd taken a blue card in the first pack, maybe I'd think about taking it. Nettle Drone is really strong, and it's worth considering taking him, even though obviously if we're going red-white, he's not nearly as good. So that's kind of a hard choice. I mean, the Steward is good, but only really good if you end up in the life gain deck. So I think I will just take the Drone, even though it doesn't go really well with our first pick. I think it's the strongest card in this pack. Okay, now there's a Rolling Thunder, not to mention a Deathless Behemoth, Clutch of Currents, and Stone Fury. So this card has 4 cards that I almost never cut. And these 3 I don't think I've ever cut, but Stone Fury I have cut a few times. So that's an interesting choice. I mean, Rolling Thunder is very strong, but it's ended up not being quite as strong in this format as I think people, including myself, thought it would be because there's just too many sizable creatures. The Behemoth is nice because it'll go in any deck we end up in. But I think I'm leaning towards the Rolling Thunder here over like the Clutch. It's still pretty good, even if it's not as good as people thought. So yeah, I think that's what I'll take. Okay, Fire Mantle Mage is a card I like a lot, and I think it's probably what we take here. He's good even if you're not in an ally deck, although obviously he's better if you're in one. I mean, Nettle Drone, say we end up in red-white allies, Nettle Drone is still a card I would play. I mean, he just wouldn't be nearly as good as usual, but he's still a 3-mana 3/1 who can ping the opponent, which isn't bad. He gets ridiculous if you have a very good colorless deck. So yeah, I think I take the Mage here. The Focus is a good card for sure, but I like the Mage a lot. Lumbering Falls. Okay, well this pack's not offering us really anything, so I think I'll just pick up the Evolving Wilds, the good fixing. Pack basically filled with. I mean, if we ended up in the life gain deck, that card I guess is pretty good. If we see that Serene Steward again, that may mean that life gain deck is pretty open. But and Lumbering Falls is good too. If we were actually in those colors, or one of those colors even, I'd probably take it, but we're not. So I think I just take the wilds here. Okay, Brood Monitor around late, which is not an uncommon thing to see, sadly for Brood Monitor. I think I just take Ghostly Sentinel here. Yeah, I mean, I think it's the best card left. I like it more than the Great Horn and the Cub and Sure Strike, which is a good trick, but I'd rather have the Sentinel. Lined Head Drawn Network is a thing. I mean, it's usually a sideboard card. I think I'll just take an Invoker, though. I mean, he's not the most exciting card ever, but I only cut him about half the time, probably. I mean, he could end up being in our deck. The colorless deck definitely doesn't seem super open. I mean, we did pass quite a few solid, anyway, colorless cards like Mist Intruder and stuff like that. Interesting. It's either the Lookout or the Sentinel. And the Sentinel's not going to be great in our deck, but it wouldn't be a bad blocker at all. And the Lookout isn't overly exciting. I think I am actually just going to take the Sentinel over the Lookout. I'll be able to pick up... I can probably pick up both of them, though, to be honest. And we have one card with Rally so far. Well, maybe I should take it. And no, I'm going to go with the Sentinel. It's a better card most of the time. Even though we have one creature with Rally and our deck doesn't look like it's going to be super colorless, he can hold down the ground for our Flyers to win the game and things like that. I mean, he's not quite a Fortified Rampart, but he's not bad, and he can actually kill lots of the early 1 toughness creatures in the format. We can probably, will be end up being able to splash if we really want to, so that's something to keep our eyes open for if we open up like a red-white bomb or something like that. Okay, so it's either Felidar Cub or the Champion or the Spawning Bed. Those are the 3 best cards in the pack, I think. I'm kind of leaning towards the Champion. It's another ally, and the Cub is fine, but not amazing. I mean, he is nice to have in your sideboard at worst, but yeah, I'll take the Champion, though. I think I like him more than most people do. He's not incredible or anything, but 4 mana for a 4/3 who gives all your dudes trample seems like a pretty good deal. It's better if we end up with some better top end guys who can really do a lot of damage if they have trample, but it's not bad as is. Green is probably the color I'd want to splash the most. Like if we open up the green Rally guys who pump the whole team. Yeah, that's probably what I would do. Okay, well, here's a guy, but he already has trample. I mean, white's not seeming super open. I can sort of look into doing something different. I may take this Wavewing Elemental. I mean, Fertile Thicket is also a possibility. It can help me fix, but I think I'll take the Wavewing Elemental. Right now, I'm not playing it, but if I ended up switching to blue, there's an okay chance it would make my deck. But yeah, white has kind of, other than the first pick Gideon's Approach and the sort of late Ghostly Sentinel, we haven't seen much in white, so there's a Felidar Cub, and I think I'd rather have that than another Invoker. So there's another white card, although not an amazing one. Yeah, I'm okay with people playing either of those, more or less. Grave Birthing can be a good card sometimes, but if you're in like a blue-black deck where you really need to be ingesting stuff, for example. So, yeah, let's see what we get here. People taking a while on the last. Yeah, there's a traffic jam, basically. So, I mean, like I said, I think red's pretty open. But other than that, I'll take a Hedron Blade for the sideboard. Other than that, it's not really clear what's going on, basically. So we haven't gotten a lot of great signals of any kind, really. Take some basics. So we'll just have to see where the second pack takes us. I think the only two cards I have that I would think I would say are, well, I guess I have three cards that I'd say are pretty powerful. That's the Reproach, the Mage, and the Rolling Thunder. Are all cards that I like a lot. But after them, our deck, Ghostly Sentinel is probably one of the next best cards, and that's not a great place to be. So hopefully we'll see what we see in this pack. But we do have this Wavewing Elemental that I may just sort of stick here. It's not an amazing card by any means, but if we ended up moving into blue, he would probably make our deck, especially because we would end up cutting probably our white cards. So. All right, so we open a Veteran War Leader here who is is a pretty good card, but we'd have to splash green for him, and I don't want to lock myself into that. He's better in a deck with a bunch of allies anyway, and right now it doesn't look like that's where we are. Angel of Renewal, however, is an ally and a good card in general, and I think it's probably the best card in this pack. There's no premium removal or any removal really, unless you count Merc Strider, I guess, or Hagra Sharpshooter, but it's kind of stretching it, especially on the latter one. But I think we just take the Angel. It fits in our deck no matter where we end up, basically. So yeah, that's what we'll take here over the War Leader, which I think is the only other card worth really considering. I mean, Shadow Glider's good, and if it wheels, I'll be pretty happy with that, but we'll have to see. Sunken Hollow, not in our colors. So there's a Smite the Monstrous, which is a good removal spell. There's also Courier Griffin. I think I'd probably take the Smite. There are matchups where the Smite's just not very good, but in most matchups you're going to at least find a few things you can kill. So having one main board is usually a good idea, and I like it enough that I think I want to take it over Courier Griffin, which is like the next card I would consider in this pack. So Smite it is. So we're picking up some white now. Looks like white-red may actually be where we go. Wouldn't mind like a Kozilek's Channel in a deck with Rolling Thunder and Valakut Invoker. It seems pretty good. Okay, here's some premium black removal, which is worth thinking about, I think. There's also another Serene Steward. We have one way of gaining life right now, and if we take that, we can sort of prioritize other ways to do it. Also a Lithomancer's Focus. I mean, Complete Disregard, like if this was my first pack, is probably what I would take. Royal Spout, also worth considering. It is a strong card that I could consider splashing for, but at this point, if I can stay red-white, I think that's probably ideal. And I think if I were going to splash, like Complete Disregard, I would rather have than Royal Spout most of the time. Let's see here. I mean, this is kind of a hard choice. I think I do take the Steward here over the Spout or the Complete Disregard. Yeah, I'm going to do it. It didn't come back to us last time, so someone's probably in the life gain deck, although the Steward's also fine if you're not in the life gain deck. It's much stronger when you are. But, so we'll just see. But yeah, it looks like red-white will actually happen, although I guess I haven't picked up anything red yet or really seen anything red worth considering yet. So who knows? Could all shift. Royal's Retribution, huh? Yeah, I mean, there's a Court Castigator, but I like Royal's Retribution more than most. I think I've mentioned it on recordings before, but yes, you can play around it if you know your opponent has 5 mana up and at least one card in their hand, but it's most of the time going to at least be a 1-for-1, and it can take down some pretty sizable creatures at instant speed as a 1-for-1, and in a lot of situations it can do a lot more than that. So I think I like it more than the Castigator. Although Stonehaven Medic's worth looking at now that we have Serene Steward. I think I'll take the good removal, and I think we're kind of set on removal after we take the Royal's Retribution here. So I think I like that. Cards like Stonehaven Medic are things I think I would not mind getting now. I mean, we only have the one Serene Steward, but it's another good early blocker. So there's that. If I don't have to play him, I think I'd be happy. But other than that, I mean, maybe the Sentinel gets cut if we just don't have enough ways of taking advantage of it. But Omnath, huh? Or a second Evolving Wilds. I think I'd go with the second Evolving Wilds. Getting the double green for Omnath wouldn't be easy. Another Royal Spout is pretty tempting. If I take a second Evolving Wilds, it opens me up to splashing really easily in pack 3, or if we see anything crazy in this pack. So I think I just take the second Evolving Wilds. Silent Skimmer to Drew Beastmaster, both pretty good cards, as are Royal Spout and Omnath, obviously, but I'm going to go for the second Evolving Wilds instead. So I think it'd be pretty easy for us to splash a third color right now. And I think we're set on removal and we're set on fixing. Basically, I mean, you know, there are things that if I opened, I think it would be hard to pass, but I think from here we can basically focus on creatures and be pretty happy about it. Okay, well, Exert Influence is a card we could splash, I guess, and it would usually be 3 color. I mean, there's another Sentinel, but I don't think it's quite good enough. I may just go with the Stalwart instead. It is an ally. It looks like we can play 3 colors. The Stalwart's usually better if green's like one of your primary colors because you can play it on turn 3 more consistently. But I think I like it here over the Exert Influence. Green pairs better with an ally deck than does Exert Influence. So yeah, I'll take the Stalwart here. So we're in the 3 most ally-ish colors, I would say. And Exert Influence is a pretty good card, don't get me wrong. I mean, some people look at it when you're in a 3-color deck and they're like, well, you can only steal a creature with 3 power. And that's true, but a 5 mana, I mean, you're paying 5 mana not just to remove your opponent's creature, but to take theirs. And it lasts, like, indefinitely. So it's not, you know, until end of turn or something like that. So I think it's a pretty good deal. Okay, here we'll take out Number. Another good removal spell. I mean, I said I'd be prioritizing creatures, but we haven't really seen any that we desperately want. There were a couple of decent green ones in that pack, but green's going to be our 3rd most prominent color, and I don't think we want to be going into that for anything that isn't an ally, really. So I'm going to avoid that. Although the green, we only have one card that cares about life gain at this point. I was going to say the green Retreat wouldn't be too bad. So here we're between Outnumber again or Stone Fury. I think I'll take the Fury this time. Our deck is ending up with like a bunch of removal, which is interesting. Outnumber is good, but it does have its limitations. And Stone Fury is a little costlier, but it can basically take down any creature in the format, and it just scales up as long as the further the game goes on. When you can like kill a 7 or 8 drop with a 5 mana spell, it's a pretty good deal. So that's worth keeping in mind. So yeah, we have good removal, and we have good fixing. Our creatures are less than exciting. Aside, maybe Angel of Renewal, Ghostly Sentinel, and Firemantle Mage are our best ones. Okay, well, that Veteran War Leader came back, and I think we probably take it here over the Reckless Cohort, who I don't like at all, despite being an ally. Especially in a deck like ours where we don't have as many allies as I would like. So, yeah, we'll take this Veteran War Leader. This Sentinel may end up getting cut, and or the Nettle Drone, just because they don't have enough synergy. All right, well, I think Unified Front is actually pretty good in our deck, especially if we can pick up some ways to get ally triggers that matter more. I mean, Veteran War Leader always loves Unified Front, of course, but the ones that pump your creatures are the ones that are the best with Unified Front, because those actually matter when you trigger it multiple times. So, I mean, we're going to be paying 4 for 3 ally tokens, like in an ideal situation here, but now that we have a couple cards with Converge, it's not a bad idea just to pick up, I guess I'll take a land here. It's not a bad idea just to pick up some like if we see dual lands that aren't even in one of our colors, things like that, and there's nothing else really exciting in the pack, it's worth taking those because if we have one of them in play, maybe Unified Front puts 4 allies into play. Wouldn't mind the white retreat right now either, but we'll see what we end up with. Okay, I guess I'll take a Reckless Cohort for the sideboard. I don't see myself siding it in or running it, but it could happen. Yeah, Volcanic Upheaval's an okay sideboard card. I've sided it in once or twice against cards like Ondu Rising and things like that. And I wasn't playing anything else in that pack, so I might as well go for it. We definitely need more creatures, though. We're pretty low on them for an ally deck, so I probably won't even be able to cut the Sentinel and the Nettle Drone, even though, yeah, I'll take a Looming Spires. Don't mind getting that late. Even though they're not allies, like having the Sentinel and the Nettle Drone just as more creatures is pretty good, especially when you have a card like Veteran War Leader and a card like Outnumber. So we have a couple cards that encourage us to play as many creatures as we can, I think. Shambling Vent. Well, there's an example of a dual land that's in both of in one of our colors and would give us another source of mana. That's pretty good. But we also have Core Blade Whirl and Ghostly Sentinel and another Stalwart. And no good removal to really speak of. I think I probably take the Blade Whirl. The Blade Whirl giving, the first strike rally trigger is pretty strong. It's a good 2-drop. The Vent, like I said, it's tempting because of the fact that it would give us black too and make it pretty easy to splash too if we wanted to go 4 colors or something. But I think I'd rather just take the Blade Whirl here. It's simpler, and I know it'll make it into my deck. The Vent probably would too, but it wouldn't be as good in my deck if I don't actually end up with other reasons. Woo, Planar Outburst. Wow, this is interesting. We got Angelic Captain and Planar Outburst. Angelic Captain is, a friend of allies. It helps allies. It's itself an ally. But Planar Outburst is just such a strong card. Like, board sweepers are always good, and it's the only one in this format, so people don't play around it as much as they should, at least in the first game they play against you with it. So I think it's what I'm going to take over the ally. I mean, it is tempting, and it's a foil Angelic Captain, but I think I got to take Planar Outburst. We're sort of... and now Quarantine Field? We're kind of ending up in like a weird control deck that has allies in it because we're getting stuff like Quarantine Field and Planar Outburst here. We got to take the Quarantine Field over Tandem Tactics and Cliffside Lookout. It's just a bomb. White just must be very open to our right for people to not even consider taking the Quarantine Field. Okay, here's another Fire Mantle Mage, which I don't mind, and also a Deathless Behemoth, but I think I take the Mage. We do need these, allies for our what it was supposed to be anyway, an ally deck. So I think that's what I'll take here over the Sentinel. And I like Fire Mantle Mage a lot, although our deck is getting a little less aggressive, so it's not going to be quite as good, but it's still pretty good, I think. Okay, we got Sheer Drop, Gideon's Reproach. I'm kind of leaning towards Sheer Drop. It has better synergy with Planar Outburst. The Reproach is good, but we already have one. Sheer Drop's like Awaken, also makes it sort of count as a creature, which I think is relevant. So I think I'll take the Sheer Drop. Yeah, white's definitely open. We'll take a Shadow Glider now. Another creature, which is good news for us. And here I think we we only have 13 creatures. I guess we kind of have more if you want to count Unified Front or Sheer Drop. And Planar Outburst, I guess, but that's rarely going to actually be an 8-mana spell. But I think I'd rather have the focus over the Shatter Skull Recruit. It's just a good trick, so yeah, I'll take it. Our deck is definitely going to need to be trimmed a little bit. Some more finishers wouldn't hurt, like Angel of Renewal and Ghostly Sentinel right now, I guess, are our big finishers, or our Planar Outburst token, our creature, if we get there. I'll probably cut the Sentinel. We just don't have enough ways to turn it on. At least Nettle Drone's good with like double Fire Mantle Mage because he has 3 power. Probably run like 2 forests in this deck along with the 2 Evolving Wilds, and that's probably good enough. Another Shadow Glider over a Fortified Rampart is pretty good, I think. I mean, having these sort of flying, evasive win conditions is probably pretty good in a deck where we're sporting both Quarantine, Field, and Planar Outburst. I think. It would be awesome if that Angelic Captain made it back to us, but I just don't see that happening. So, Stone Fury may now be kind of obsolete, although maybe Royal's Retribution is too in a deck with this much removal. I'll take a Predator here, I think, over the Cub. We do have 2 Evolving Wilds, so it's kind of relevant. Like, you know, I said Royal's Retribution I wouldn't normally cut, and I like it a lot, but in a deck where we also managed to get Rolling Thunder, Quarantine Field, and Planar Outburst, it's kind of like, you know, I have better removal, not to mention on the lower curve I have Outnumber and Sheer Drop and Smite the Monstrous. Like, I have a lot of good removal, so I think one of these is probably gone. I have to decide which. I think Stone Fury will be better against more people, and Royal's Retribution is something I can side in against decks that have lots of lower toughness creatures, like an ally deck and things like that, in place of the Stone Fury, because then Stone Fury is kind of overkill and clunky. So there's other stuff I need to cut too. We're at 24 cards right now, so there's definitely some thinking that needs to be done here. The Stalwart might get cut, and we may just run the War Leader. So yeah, White's. I mean, it's interesting because White didn't seem very open early, but at least late we got a lot of really, really good White cards. So it's kind of interesting. So it's either Sure Strike or Sandstone Bridge. I guess I'll take the Bridge here. I mean, I could also get Plummet for a good sideboard card, I guess. Yeah, I think I will take the Plummet. Well, no, never mind. I was just talking about how much removal we have. I don't think we really need to do that. It is a good sideboard card and more efficient than most of the removal we have, but the Sandstone Bridge is fine too. So I think that's what I go with here. It's going to be hard to trim this one. Unified Front may not be like ideal anymore. We didn't really end up getting any of the green pump your whole team rally effects. Well, Felidar Cub probably gets cut and moved to the sideboard, ready to be sided in. But I'd like to avoid cutting creatures if I can, because we just don't have a huge number of them. I mean, we also don't need a huge number of them when we have Rolling Thunder, Quarantine Field, and Planar Outburst, but I'd still like them. Okay, Slide Runner or Tandem Tactics? I think I'd rather have the Slide Runner just because I think I want more creatures than I have. Tandem Tactics does have a little bit of synergy with our Serene Steward, but it doesn't really have anything else. I'd be happy if people played any of those cards, so I'll take a Forest instead. Altar's Reap can sometimes be decent if you actually end up making a good black-green deck, but that's pretty hard to do in this format. So it was interesting. Like early on, I was kind of worried about the power of the deck, and then we ended up picking up Quarantine Field and Planar Outburst late. So in terms of at least removal, our power level is incredibly high. So that's good. So we still need to cut 2 more cards, basically. I kind of doubt we pick up anything we really want to be playing late here. I kind of like leaving Sheer Drop in because at least it can make a creature. In some situations, and it has, like I said earlier, decent synergy with Planar Outburst. It's our only other Awakened spell. I'll take Blighted Gorge. Probably isn't going to make our deck because we want to be making sure we get green. Although I think I am probably going to cut this Stalwart, minimize, basically our only green card is Veteran War Leader. So that's good. I might be able to play the Gorge, but I don't know that we need to. It'll make our mana base less consistent for, a okay effect, especially when that effect is on a card that also produces mana, but not an amazing one. So, yeah, I think that's a good idea. So we still need to cut one more card. Just on the off chance the person to my left actually got there on getting enough ways to exile stuff that he can play Processor Assault, I think we want to take that away. Because it is strong in the decks that actually are able to play it, and even though it wheeled, like, it could be because no one but the guy on my other side is playing those cards, so I think it's has enough upside that I want to take it away from somebody late, just in case they happen to be in the deck. Okay, I mean, maybe I move Smite to the sideboard now. I mean, again, we have a lot of good removal. I think I probably do move Smite to the sideboard and call it a deck. We'll see when we get to deck building, though. Our veteran war leader, not going to be quite as good as I think he wants to be, but I think he'll be okay. I think he's probably still worth splashing green for, too. Blade Whirl. How many allies did we end up with here while we wait for the end of this draft? Blade Whirl, Steward, Fire Mantle Mage, Veteran War Leader, Ondu Champion, Unified Front, and Angel of Renewal. So that's okay. This is definitely not a dedicated, like, all my cards have rally kind of deck, which sometimes you can manage to make in this format. Let's sort by color. Yeah, we have doubles, lots of doubles in both colors, which is we definitely don't want to be playing Blighted Gorge in that situation. We have 2 in white, but they're both like probably our 2 most powerful cards, and we have 3 in red. One of them is very powerful, and the other is kind of meh. I mean, maybe that's something to consider, too, when looking at Royal's Retribution versus Stone Fury, is that, well, I'm still going to be playing 2 cards with double red. I don't think it makes a huge difference. So, yeah, I think I move Smite to the sideboard. And, yeah, I mean, that's some pretty sweet non-creature spells we have. So, all right, so we're going to combine groups and add our lands. It's interesting, it wants us to run no forests, which does not seem ideal, I don't think. I think 6/6/1 is probably where we want to be. Oh, and we can run one more land. The thing about our double white cards is we can play them late, really late, more often than we can actually play our double red cards. We want to be playing Ondu Champion early and Stone Fury. Rolling Thunders are only one where we're like, well, we can play it whenever and get a lot of value out of it. But I think we also want to make sure we hit white, and we do have 2 Evolving Wilds to make that happen. So, because our best early creatures are mostly white. It's either mountain or plains, though. Yeah, I think we go for the plains. Our deck definitely has more white in it. So, all right, I think that's our deck. We ended up in kind of a weird ally control deck, I guess, with the huge bombs we ended up picking up late. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in round 1.